Huh? Everybody hear me all right? All right. I'm probably the least active out of all the people. I don't run. Like, I don't know if any of you have seen me getting around this place. I'm lucky I can walk. So other than that, I've actually been dealing with this a lot longer, and my journey's a little different. My mother went blind 17 years ago. Back then is when they had no idea what it was. I mean, they did spinal taps, and they had all, I mean, she had no idea. Her eyes went basically about the same time, within 2 months. There was no space from one to the other. It was within 2 months she went from driving to not, and basically no idea what was going on. Finally, after a lot of blood tests, they, you know, back then they gave you a cane and a check and said, don't get hit as you're walking home here, basically. So, you know, she, and after a short period, you know, I dealt with her, I wasn't living with her at the time, and within a year or two, you're saying all the same things that you've all heard. Well, geez, it's been a year, shouldn't you be working? I see blind people all the time doing this and that. I mean, look on TV, Daredevil and all these other things. They're all doing it. Why can't you? Now I feel awful. But so, you know, we had no idea what it was, symptoms or carriers or anything like that. Back then, there wasn't even real exact things like maybe I could get it, maybe I couldn't. I used to always make the joke, hopefully I've got an attractive wife and a good amount of rental properties by the time I'm 40, so when I go blind, I made it to 32, needless to say, and I don't know about the rental properties. But so, you know, I dealt with my mother, and thank gosh, my wife Jen and my daughter Charlotte, who is 4, has also dealt with Grammy being blind, so everybody was quite used to. My mother's not quite as blind as I am. She's not walking into walls like I have been, so I mean, she's doing better than that. She doesn't use a cane to get around and didn't really take advantage of a lot of the services that they now offer, you know what I mean? So that was one thing I knew. It's been just about a year. I was diagnosed a year yesterday. And the reason I had started to have, November 2013, I started to have some issues, just they thought it was stigmatism or something going on, and in my right eye, and by April, something like that, I started to get kind of a cloudy see on one side, and I'd be squinting when I come home looking at my phone. My wife thought I'd been out tying one on most of the night, you know what I mean? I was getting in trouble for things I wasn't even doing at that point. And finally, I made my own eye doctor's appointment, which floored her. At that point, she knew something was wrong. I never make my own appointment. And I told her one eye was cloudy, and she goes, what do you mean one's cloudy? Shut that other one. And as soon as I did, everything went black, and I knew it, especially dealing with my mother. So I called her first thing, and she says, well, I said to her she says, well, when you can't see the eye chart on the other side of the room, you'll know. So I went to this doctor. I mean, they diagnosed me first thing. I mean, I self-diagnosed myself. It wasn't one of these like, oh, what is it or anything. It was pretty obvious. They did the MRI and everything to make sure it wasn't a tumor, but, I mean, praying for a tumor at that point. But they, you know, it wasn't a tumor, needless to say. And so I had been working in Maine. You know, my father and I had been selling modular and mobile homes. Thank you. And so I had working 50, 60 hours a week and, you know, going right full tilt. I had a 4-year-old daughter at the time, and my wife working quite a bit as well, so it was quite a change, I can tell you that. I went from, you know, I started, so I was diagnosed. We went down and saw Dr. Guy in basically right at the beginning of July. As soon as we found out, my wife got online, and as much, you know, web research as humanly possible, and basically as soon as she found somebody that actually might know something, she had me right there in hand banging on the door until they let us in, so that was good. We, you know, my first winter being blind in Maine, 6'9" and blind in the snow is nothing anybody ever needs to repeat, let me tell you. Your white cane blends into everything, and it's just white as far as the eye could see. So I fell pretty much every time I came in and out of the house, and so we moved to Florida in March, and it has been great. Let me recommend it to anybody who lives in the Northeast and is blind or anywhere in snow. Go south. It is awful, let me tell you. So, you know, I like to say the sunlight helps me see. Let me tell you, the heat helps me see. So you're not, you know, so we've gone to Florida, and I tell you what, in Maine, you know, every state, I guess, is different. In Maine, the Division for the Blind, when you go blind, you set yourself up, and they do all these things, and they basically dress you like a crossing guard for ice road truckers. You have, like, they give you some ice cleats and a yellow vest and a light for your head and a cane or two, and off you go. There you go. I mean, it was the craziest thing. So, you know, I go down to Florida, and there's computer training and classes and all this different stuff, and I was just amazed at the difference. Tell you what, though, ask any of those O&M people when you want. I wanted a cane like Scent of a Woman. You know, that was one of my favorite movies beforehand. Al Pacino, you know, I didn't realize I'd be the one living most of that life, but I wanted a black cane to get around with. I'll tell you what, that sends a chill up their spine if you don't ask for a white one. So I knew that one from a long time ago. I've learned my blind lessons here and there. You know, my mother used to tell anecdotal stories about serving blueberries instead of peas at dinner or sticking her fingers in the butter and all these things, and, you know, those were anecdotal stories. Mine have gotten a little worse, unfortunately. We were at an airport the other day. I only tell one. I promised Maria, I only wanted two. So I was at an airport the other day, and there was, you know, at airports they have those black trash cans with the gray flip lids, you know. So I'm quite blind, and I was drinking a Pepsi, and my wife sits me somewhere to try to, you know, do whatever and go, you know, stay here and don't move. So I'm sure you all have experienced that. And so I sit down and I finish my Pepsi, and I reach over, and I see the black trash can at the end of the bench, and I just start reaching and pushing it into this. And all of a sudden I hear my wife go, no, 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 no. And it's this woman pulls her hood off the top of her head, and I've been shoving a soda can into the side of her face for the past few minutes. So, yeah, so.
That is the funniest thing.
So the first year of being blind has gone rather differently, let me tell you. So. Thank gosh I have a 4-year-old who can read expiration dates and knows what the time numbers are, and you know, she's pretty good. The other day at a restaurant, I couldn't tell that the waitress was a female. She had a real like lower male sounding androgynous voice. And I, being in the deep south, was like, yes sir, no sir, thank you sir, I'd like a Pepsi sir, please, thank you sir. Charlotte comes back after using the bathroom, and we get done ordering, and I get done ordering my meal before they order, and she goes, Daddy, it's a girl, right in front of her. Oh my gosh. You know, no filter. I turned 6 shades of tomato, and I just didn't even know what to do. Finally, my wife's like, and I'll have eggs on that, thanks. And so life's a little tough, you know. You get used to things as you go. It's nice having family by far. I mean, I've heard that from a few other people up here. It's definitely one of the things that keeps me getting out of bed each day. I don't know how, it definitely keeps me moving. I walk my daughter to school. I basically, you know, when they take you to these Division for the Blind things, and they're like, well, do you want to learn, you know, laundry and dishwashing, all these things. My wife's like, I thought my wife was going to pass out laughing. She's like, he didn't do those things before. What are you going to teach him now? Yeah. So, you know, I'm basically learning from scratch, but all in all, you know, I walk my daughter to school and then spend a half an hour trying to find my way home from school. But you know, it's all kind of a struggle as you go, and you're learning as you go. So my biggest thing is take advantage of every aspect possible. I watch somebody not take advantage of everything going with going blind, and how that can be. And you know, I'm not saying my mother's not doing well, but she's been 17 years now. Like, I mean, I didn't wait very long. I need to get out of that house. I stopped driving in September. I bought an electric scooter 2 days later. As long as I could see the white line in the green grass, I figured I could make it. A few cones and potholes and everything else later, but we made it, and that's in Maine, by the way, not down in Florida. So now that, you know, it's more just every day's a struggle, and you just keep trying to push yourself to do more. You know, once you realize that the toothpaste goes on your teeth instead of on the toothbrush and things like that, it's just a lot easier. One thing I learned more than anything else, if you can't be productive, you might as well stay attractive. So other than that, I think that's about all I got here. So.
Oh, Matthew, thank you.